Okay, guys, so we're going to finish up your review. So we left off at the World War II era, and we're going to look at major dictators of World War II. So for Germany, we obviously know Hitler and the Nazi Party, and his belief was to dominate Europe and to take land there, and to create the Third Empire. Empire. Okay. Then we have Italy's Mussolini, okay, and his style of government was fascism, okay, and it's still that totalitarian belief and total control. And then finally we'll get to Japan, and Japan will see an um, overthrow of the uh, the dynasty government to a militaristic government. Okay. All right. And just all together, I mean, the dictators of World War II that got it started, World War II started because of their want to imperialize, and to imperialize on a domination scale, by taking what they wanted. So on the home front, and that's what this one's pertaining to, on the home front in the U.S., Rosie the Riveter was a symbol for women workers, um, to help the war effort. Okay, different examples of propaganda that were used were those for like, you know, plant a war garden, plant a victory garden, all you can do will help the cause, okay, or buy a war bond, okay, and it's just a way for, an increase in nationalism, and it was truly a World War II was truly one of the big last examples of a country coming together to support its troops in a massive war in the way we did. Okay, Midway and D-Day were major turning points in World War II. In World War II. And D-Day was turning point in Europe. Um, and the reason it's a turning point, from this point on, the United States will be on the offense, and the Allies will be on the offense, pushing back Germany out of France, back to Germany itself. Okay, and then we look at the Battle of Midway, and Midway was the turning point in the Pacific theater. Remember, there were two different theaters here, and Midway was literally, a battle in the mid-Pacific. It was a crucial Allied victory, because we destroy Japan's, um, I'm having a moment. We destroy Japan's naval power, for the aircraft carriers. There we go. Um, The Manhattan Project refers to the concept of building the atomic bomb, okay? And so this idea began to first be constructed actually in Europe, and then the U.S. got wind of this idea, and FDR uh, commissioned um, the secret building of this, and so um, for use in World War II if needed. FDR didn't quite have the plan that it would be dropped, and we would later, come to know that Truman will be the decider of dropping the bomb. Okay. All right. VE Day. VE Day stood for Victory in Europe. Okay, and it will come first uh, in April of 1945. Okay, and by the surrender of Germany or Hitler and the fall of Berlin. And then our eyes will really turn towards the Pacific, and that's when we get to the J Day, and this will take place in September of 1945 after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Nuremberg trials are the connection to um, war trials, and also the trials for um, Holocaust officers. Okay, and this was a way to enforce humanity during war, which is very interesting, because war is not humane, but you can also try to limit just reckless killing, especially as you go through towns and cities during war. Okay. All right. Korematsu versus United States. This was the Japanese internment camps in the U.S. Internment camps in the U.S. And this was the big issue of government having the power to protect the citizens at whatever cost. All right. Then we get to post World War II effects. We have the Marshall Plan. That will be a way for the United States to help European war-torn countries rebuild. So the U.S. Will lend money to war-torn countries in Europe. And also these countries had stipulations, okay? Non-communist countries. Okay, non-communist countries. And I always just think Marshall money, they both start with M, Marshall money. Okay. All right, so the arms race. This is really the birth of the Cold War. Birth of the Cold War. And, this is the struggle between the U.S. Versus the USSR or Russia, as many people begin to know it. who can build the better weapon, better and bigger weapon. And we're not talking about any weapon, but um, nuclear weaponry. Okay. I truly don't think that many, the leader between Stalin and the U.S. or Khrushchev and, the presidents truly expected to ever use these weapons, but they would if necessary. Okay, the Berlin Wall came out of, okay, so the Berlin airlift and the Berlin Wall refer to the division of Germany after World War II. Okay, and remember that East Berlin belonged to the USSR, and West Berlin to the Allies. Okay, and so the Berlin Wall actually divided the the city between the two sides, and on the eastern side there was such a shortage of supplies and food due to the inability um, to manufacture the goods that we actually the U.S. Flew in um, supplies, and that's known as the Berlin Airlift to East Berlin. Okay. Then we have the Iron Curtain. This was, coined by, Winston Churchill himself. Um, and this idea that uh, Iron Curtain has descended, talking about the split uh, between the democratic countries of the world and communist countries. Okay, so this is political divide, economic division. Okay, and this will ultimately lead to a clash of the um, two government styles. Cuban Missile Crisis. We get into John F. Kennedy's presidency. This is in 1960s, early 1960s, so like around 63. Um, and this dealt with the presence um, of USSR missiles in Cuba. Okay, and it ultimately led to a showdown in the United Nations, where pretty much we had used U-2 drones um, to take um, aerial footage of the actual missiles in Cuba, and they were used in the I'm going to put UN, the United Nations, to prove to the world that the missiles were there. Okay, and pretty much the compromise that came out of it was that the USSR would remove the missiles in Cuba, as long as the U.S. removed um, our missiles from Turkey. Hello, they were aimed right at them. So, okay. NATO, Warsaw, SEATO,